All right, everybody, it is 11:02, so I guess we will go ahead and get started. I see so many people have put their name and library in the chat. If you have not, please do, because that is how I end up taking attendance at the end. So welcome to the February 10th Cataloging Committee meeting for MEC. We are just going to jump right in here. Starting with the Cataloging Committee news, the Cataloging Committee just actually met right before this meeting. We are working on getting a chair-elect. I say we, as in it's not me, though. It's the Cataloging Committee working on who will be chair-elect when Kate moves up to be the chair of Missouri Evergreen. So that's in the works. So we should have something lined up by the next meeting. So keep an eye out for that. And the second thing under here for Cataloging Committee news is something we really want to talk about for Rhonda specifically. So at the users conference, there are sessions going on. There is one for cataloging for circulators. So cataloging questions that come up for people in circulation. Kate and I are doing that one, and Rhonda is doing like the other side, and she is doing circulations for catalogers. So what are things that catalogers often have questions about that have to do with circulation? And if you open where it says here, it already says holds, because that was the question that came up in when we talked about this in the cataloging committee. But what are certain things in circulation that we have questions about that come up all the time that we maybe have to ask a phone a friend circulation person? I know I have questions about circulation all the time, and I, have to phone a friend. So what are these things that they could talk about that would help us out? So if you would click into that document and write down any ideas or shout them out, and we can talk about some here. We talked about holds specifically in the committee meeting. Basically anything from, we know how holds are supposed to work, but there's always seems to be something where holds aren't exactly playing nicely or working the way you think they should be working. And those are circulation questions, right? So that's the one that we came up with already. Okay, so we're going to move on here. Consortium Cataloger News. The 2025 regional cataloging trainings have been scheduled, so you will see the schedule there. They're starting at the end of March in Trails, and then concluding kind of in mid-May at West Plains. If you can click on the individual links and register. Reminder that even if these are your home libraries, if you plan to attend the training, to please sign up just so they can get a head count for food and whatnot. So that is where we will be. We will be at Trails, we'll be at Cedar County, Livingston, Scenic Regional, and West Plains. So please come join us. I know several people have already signed up. There's almost 10 people signed up already for each location, which is amazing. Love to see you guys. And what we're going to cover there really depends on you guys. So the next little thing is if you have a suggestion for what you would like to be covered at regional training, there's another little link. I love my links. So link out to that, and it just kind of asks you like questions like, what would you like to see covered? And basically, if I have questions about this, can I contact you? That's basically all it is. And so far, I have had one suggestion, and they talked about buckets, which is a great idea. We love our buckets and our baskets, so I've added that to what we will talking about at regional trainings. But if you have any suggestions, please fill that out. Otherwise, I just base it off of what questions we get asked the most and what's come up the most in Cat Help. So kind of varies year to year. Of course, I always put in the certification by the numbers, like how many people have completed their certification. And this is just always like a running total, because for me, it's really exciting to see how many people have completed this. So whether it's their certification or their recertification, you can see the numbers tick up there month by month. All right, we are moving right along. So I may skip around a little bit in this part. I'm going to actually talk about the Equinox Training Portal first in this section, just because it is easy and we'll get it out of the way. So last month we talked about this. The Equinox Training Portal is amazing. They have all sorts of stuff for us. And then I sent you guys out the username and password. I did mention that they do tend to change that every now and then, and they hadn't changed it yet. But immediately after I gave it to you all last month, they updated the password. So like last month where I sent out a email after the meeting with the credentials, after this meeting, you will get a new email with the updated credentials. I am so sorry. I had no idea we were doing so well. And then I feel like the devil got me as soon as I gave it to everybody. They switched it up. So just heads up, if you can't currently, if you go to try to log on right this second, the password has changed. So I will send out a mass email again. But as always, if you ever go in to try to get into the Equinox training portal and can't get in, you can email me directly and I will send you the password. But I'm sorry, I got bit in the butt on that one. I thought I was being so, ahead of the game. So we'll just work backwards, I guess. So the Backstage Authority update. We have signed the contract, obviously, with Backstage. We have done test runs to see what they will look like with the updates that we are paying them to do. Cataloging committee just talked about this in the meeting previously, like an hour ago, and we are at the point where we're now going to, schedule when this is actually going to start happening. So this is happening. I'm sorry, it always feels like we're dragging our feet a little bit, but we have so many ducks to get in a row that it does take a little bit. So Backstage is happening. We're hoping we can get our first load done at the beginning of March. But I will let you know for sure as it moves along. Okay, so no worries. We have authority control. It is going to restart right now. Authority control isn't happening at all because, as you know, Marchive closed it at the end of 2024. So there's going to be these 2 months where there's no authority control happening at all while we get everything coordinated. But it is going to start back up with Backstage. So
And
no worries.
Just so everybody knows, there won't be any cataloging freeze or anything like that.
No.
It's going to be business as usual.
Yes. Rogan gave me a couple options where they have one where there is a catalog freeze and one there was not. And just decided, it's easier in life with coordinating this many people if we do not freeze cataloging. So you won't be affected. You will just see the update probably happen and the little links appear in the records, but we will keep you updated. Does anybody have any questions about the authority control in general or what's going on?
I just wanted to comment that we kind of feel like this has been a blessing in disguise because Backstage has been great and they're doing a lot more for us than what Marchive was doing. So we're really looking forward and anxious to get started with the month by month and see how all of that goes. But they sure have been great and are going to do great things for our catalog as we're moving over to them. So it's exciting.
Kate's right. We just didn't realize, I guess, how much more robust their service was and the options that we could have with them. So this is going to be an upgrade for us. So this will be awesome. All right, we have circled back up to the server upgrade tour. Now, once a year, we do a system upgrade and we don't go to the newest version. We go to the one slightly stepped back so that we aren't the one in there getting most of the new bugs. So the test server has been upgraded for a couple weeks. And I wanted to just kind of show you, if you haven't logged in the test server and looked around, I wanted to show you a little bit of what it looks like. There are release notes, another link, I love a link, available here that you can read up on things. And we are doing everything except for the 0.8 part. We are going to 3.13.7. So everything except this little bit will apply to us in this upgrade. Can you see the Evergreen test server screen? Awesome. I can never really tell what's being shared or what's not. So as you'll see, this does say test box and the color will be updated. We had them put that change back in. It will be updated for you guys when that happens so that you have that visual cue that it is the test server, because that's really helpful. And it really looks the same on the homepage here when you log in. But if you search the catalog and I don't know what, no, let's do title. I was thinking Maximum Overdrive. Is that James Patterson series? I don't know.
Maximum Ride, I think.
Maximum Ride. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I just need any record. So when you click into a record, that's really where you start seeing the changes, right? Because the search screen pretty much looked the same, but when you click onto a title, you see that everything has been slightly boxed out a little more. So it does look, I would say, significantly different. Um, that is because Equinox did a lot of great work for accessibility. And so colors are slightly different so that it's easier to read, easier to see that these things can be clicked. It just, honestly, to me, it just looks way fancier, which I really like. Um, so you will see everything's boxed out. It really looks the same. Staff view kind of looks the same. Item table looks the same. Where you really start noticing is when you get into Mark Edit. The flat text editor, of course, looks exactly the same. It's the flat text editor. But guys, look what the enhanced Mark Editor looks like now. Guys, this is fancy. I feel like no one's nearly excited as I am, but it is so much easier to use. The one, it just looks fancy, which I love, but you can actually go to the side and add your fields. Look here. You can just X out. They also have choices. Look, you can just grab and drop the field where you want it to go. You can duplicate the whole thing. You can add, or if you click here, you can add a subfield. It is just so much nicer to use. I just so excited, guys. Um, Personally, I am using the enhanced editor way more. I used to be the flat text editor person. Um, for good or for worse, that's just the one I use. I, in the test server now, have switched over to using the enhanced mark editor. And honestly, that is what I would suggest to people like when this transition happens and this gets put onto the regular production server on the 27th into the 28th, get in the enhanced mark editor and get used to using it and its features because you will really like it. It is just great. So, for example, if I am, editing a record and I just want to add a subfield, like all I have to do is go in and click the button and then I can, let's see, say I'm going to add a C, click over. It's just so easy, guys. It's so great. I love it so much. And then it just disappears if you want it to. It's so much easier to
And
use.
is it tabbable, Liz?
Is it tabbable? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like even that like add button and
Yeah.
stuff. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah. You can tab through the entire record.
Liz, may I interrupt you and ask you to show one of my favorite features of it?
Absolutely.
If you scroll back up to the top and toggle on the help mode, it gives you all the information that I usually jump out and look at the Library of Congress Mark Guide for. So if you scroll
Yes.
down, it will tell you what every indicator means, what every subfield means. Yeah, keep going down the record. Like
Oh,
look at the 100.
what?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
incredible.
I hadn't even, guys, I just wanted to go shut up, which is not something that we should say as I sound like a Gen Z. But guys, this is so exciting. I'm so excited for us. It looks so great. That is amazing. Karen, you found that hadn't even ran across that part yet because I didn't need the help.
It's so cool. I love it.
It's great. So now if you have a question and you can't remember what a subfield is, or you could just catalog with the help thing on and just have it right there all the time. That's fantastic. Okay. I'm going to try to be less excited, but I can't. I'm going to try to tamp it down a little. As we keep going through, okay, I don't want to keep that. Okay, so marked view, obviously, it looks the same. Look at this record. Well, this one doesn't have a record note. That's unfortunate. However, this record notes tab is really awesome for us because now it will tell us if things have been merged, there will be a note there that says merge and the timestamp. And it will say what record has been merged with. Awesome. Now, we will still have to sign records because it doesn't say who necessarily did the merge, and we need to see that. However, that will be a quick thing that you can look in the record notes and see that. So one of those records that maybe like, I don't know, like where the crawdad sings, where every time we have a new library come on, it has to be merged for some reason, and it has 15 merges. Those will all appear in those record notes. So you can click open the record notes and just read through them and see. Or if you're working with a record and think, oh, well, this looks like there's things added to this that shouldn't be, you can go in and look and see when the merges were and determine more easily if it was a bad merge that was done, right? It's just, oh, it's so great. Okay. So of course we have view holds, we have monograph parts. Holdings view, it operates the same, but you will notice that it looks a little bit different. The other one had like the boxes around them, and this is more like they are just blue because you can click them and edit them. So yeah, Mark IV obviously is still everything really functions the same. It looks different, and the enhanced Mark editor is a chef's kiss. That is really the difference here. Does anybody have any questions, or like Karen saw something that I didn't and that is just fabulous?
Can you go into the add holding screen?
Yeah, you like here?
Yeah.
Maybe. There you go. Look here.
And this is also in preferences where you would want, if you so choose, this is where you unify those.
Yes.
So everything's on the same page. And this is also where you can make things, all of those various boxes that are in the holdings tab where you can say, I don't ever want to see that because I don't use it.
So this version is much more accessible if anyone has like, you know, issues seeing certain colors or fonts or whatever. And it just makes everything, it just has these nice little things like changes pending. That's great. Like a visual indicator that something is, we've actually input something or opened this and something is going to be different. It's awesome. It's just, it looks so much better. I'm so excited. Anybody have any more questions about the release? Now, this is currently only on the test server.
Yeah, I was just wondering, so do all the old Shift D for delimiter and all those other things work the same way?
Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
As far as I have found, yes, those are the same.
Cool.
Okay, so this upgrade is currently only on the test server, and it will go into the production server overnight on the Thursday, February 22nd, 7th. So you won't actually see the changes until you log on Friday, February 28th. Okay. Now, I encourage you to get on the test server and look around and make sure everything works as expected. And I would say there really shouldn't be any bugs because this isn't the newest version. But if you see something or have questions, please reach out and ask us so that we can tell everybody, because I'm sure multiple people will have the same question because it really does look so much different for us.
Liz, do you mind if I point out one bug too, since I pointed out a nice thing?
Absolutely.
When you're in the fixed field editor and you're editing the illustration field in the fixed field editor, the help guide no longer comes up.
Did you tell them this? Did you tell Equinox?
It's a bug. Oh, I should
It
know
is a bug.
it is a bug. It's a known bug. I will get you the number and maybe we can add heat to it. But we printed out little guides. So, you know, A is illustrations, B is maps, C is portraits, all that, because that no longer comes up when you click on the box in the fixed field.
Okay, that is interesting because that did definitely work and does work in the version we have now.
My understanding is it's because you can have multiple letters and there's not a standard number of letters. It doesn't work the same way as the other fields. So it's something that it's known. I think they're working on it, but it's still, it's still a bug.
But it's still, and that's a little bit. So whereas on these, right, on form, right, it'll open this box. Yep, illustrations now does not open the fancy little box that we had. Okay, awesome, Karen, that's amazing. I mean, it's not amazing. It's amazing you even noticed that. I hadn't even gotten that far.
We've spent a lot of time in the test server. There are a lot of changes for us.
Oh yeah, see, you guys just came on. Yeah, that's sorry. Yes, so guys, get in there, get around, be like MLC, play around in there, make sure you know where your buttons are moving, because your buttons are definitely going to look different and maybe be slightly moved when this gets upgraded. Okay, so moving right along, unless anybody has any more comments or questions. Okay, so signing MARC records. Why do we sign MARC records and where do we sign MARC records? This is something that just comes up every now and then, and we have got to be signing our MARC records so that we are leaving breadcrumbs for each other about, things that have changed in the record, edits that have been made, merges, overlays, etc. So that is why we sign MARC records. It's, to kind of keep track of what's happening. And then if something does go wrong, we can kind of track it back and, maybe help the person who did a bad merge or just so we know in general. Where do we sign our MARC records? So the 040, that is where when you create a MARC record, you put your, actually, am I just not opening my document I have nicely made? Here we go. So the 040, that is when you are creating a MARC record, an original record. That's what they call the cataloging source. And so when you're creating one, you may have your name or your OCLC symbol in the A and in the C. But mostly what we are using it for in MEC is when you are editing a record, if you make any kind of edit to a record, and I'm talking like you add a period, which is my punctuation is my little stickler. So I end up adding MEC to the end of a lot of things just because I have to put the periods in. That is going in a D field in your 040. Okay. So even the most minor edit you are making, you have got to make sure you are signing a record in the 040. The 049 is used exclusively when you are importing or creating a catalog record. And this is just kind of saying, I made this basically, or I brought it in. This is the 049 is the field where if your OCLC symbol is only 3 characters, it could be digits or alpha characters, so alphanumeric, you do have to add the A if it's only 3. So that's why the A here is underlined. So I would be mech here, but I would be mecha in the 049. And then, of course, the 902 is the one that we use for, it's a local tag for us. It is where you say whether you have merged or overlaid a record. Now, we don't use this when we edit a record. This is solely for merging and overlay. And so you would have your library OCLC symbol in the A, and then the date in the B, and then the action in the C. So merge or overlay. Now, a question has come up of whether there has to be parenthesis around the date. I'm very literal, so I always put them in because that's how the example was. You don't have to have the parentheses there. That's not really the important part. It's just that the date is there. So it's fine. So if you're very literal like me, you may add them. If you don't, that's fine. The A and the C are the more important parts. Okay.
Would you consider that best practice? Pinky up in the air, high fluting.
Pinky up. I mean, pinky up in the air. I don't even know if pinky in the air would be parentheses. I think in the beginning, before I was here, there were no parentheses, and I am just very literal, like very literal, and that's where they came from. So I'm not sure if that would even be a best practice or a Liz's kind of crazy thing. Because I'm the person, if you give me directions and say turn at the Pizza Hut, and the Pizza Hut is turned into something else, and it still looks like a Pizza Hut, I'm still not going to turn because I'm that literal. So parentheses, up to you guys. I don't know. Best practice is signing your records. Whether you put it in parentheses or not is up to you. Okay, do we have any questions on signing our records? Who, what, when, where, why? Okay.
Liz,
So,
Karen popped that bug into the chat.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Karen. So guys, if you go in and you open the chat and you can see that bug, you can go in and I will show you. Like I have it saved on my screen, Bugs Missouri Evergreen. And you can actually search by the bug. So you can just copy and paste the bug number in here. And there it is. And you can add key to it. So awesome. Thank you, Karen. Okay, so moving on to the next thing we wanted to talk about. This came up in Cap Help, and I had to crack open RDA, and we all know we all know how that is. Using RDA toolkit or having to crack out the RDA book it's when you're getting serious. So this is head of title information. So what is head of title information? So we're going to look at an example here. So the head of title information would be, obviously, here's the title and this part right here, Robert Ludlum's. That would be head of title information. So what is the rule in RDA? What do we do that? What does that make the title? Do we add that head of title information into the 245? Or is that only a 246? So I had to crack open RDA, and it's very particular. So I'll read this. If a title consists solely of the name of a person, family, or corporate body, record the name as the title. If a title includes a name that would normally be treated as part of a statement of responsibility or as the name of a publisher, distributor, etc., and the name is an integral part of the title, example, connected by case ending, recorded as part of the title. So this case ending is what gets into Robert Ludlum's. It's the comma apostrophe in this specifically that makes this part of the title and goes in the 245. So on the example that I showed you, this would be Robert Ludlum's The Born Sacrifice. And here it is. So the author's the same, but the 245 then, the A is Robert Ludlum's, and then capital T, because that, gets into the actual title, The Born Sacrifice. And then I say always add the 246 for just Born Sacrifice. Okay, does this make sense to everyone? It's this one particularly is the apostrophe S. So if you have, it could be anybody, Oscar Wilde's something. It's the apostrophe S, then that Oscar Wilde is the beginning part of the 245 of the title. Now, inversely, we have example 2. And example 2 says Sports Illustrated, the basketball book. And so this rule in RDA, it says, do not transcribe words that serve as an introduction or are not intended to be part of the title. Record the form in which the title appears on the source of information as a variant title if it is considered to be important for identification or access. So in this case, Sports Illustrated is added information. It's really more of like probably the publisher, the distributor. And so in this case, the title is The Basketball Book. And then in the 500, you would have at head of title, Sports Illustrated. Now, this is weird, right? If it said Sports Illustrated's apostrophe S, we would make that the 245. That's what these rules are saying. It is that particular. Does that make sense to everyone? I think there's always going to be really particular questions about this because a lot of these books that do this, like the Born Sacrifice one, not only do you have head of title information on the cover of the book, you also then have the series information. So there's a lot going on and a lot to decipher and parse out. Okay. So somebody says Lonely Planet equals a 250, 246. Yes. So Lonely Planet, are those the travel books where it's like Lonely Planet Europe?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Okay. So then in that case, Lonely Planet would be a head of title, or 500, a 246, but the actual title is Europe. Okay. Now, if it said Lonely Planet apostrophe S, that would be a 245. Does this make anyone else want to like to go run into traffic a little bit? Because it definitely does me. Okay, now I did put a third example just for us to look at this. Okay, so this one is Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. It's a DVD. Yes, Sally's talking about Forders. Yes, so the Forder series often begins with the titles Forders apostrophe S. So that means Forders would go, yes. Yeah, there are lots of examples of this, whereas some use the apostrophe S, some don't. It all comes down to whether it's possessive. On this example, DVD, Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. So we do have the apostrophe S here. So what would the 245 be? I'm asking you guys. Anybody can talk to me at this point.
I'm not answering this, guys.
Yes, Sarah answered in the chat. Thank you, Sarah. Yes, it was Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. So the 245 starts with Emily Bronte's. And then you could add a 500 note that says a head of title, and then a 246 that just says Wuthering Heights. Now, does this all make sense? This was a question that came up in Cat Help, and my initial response was to tell the incorrect way, and then I had to find the RDA rule. But this is the correct way to do this. It really comes down to how it's worded in that first little bit. I know this one, this month, the catalog discussion is very nitpicky, but
That's
anybody else?
cataloging.
Yeah. That's when we're getting right down into the brass tacks here of cataloging. It's very nitpicky. So does anybody have any questions about that? So you may notice then in the catalog, some of these are wrong. It is okay then that now that we know the rule, we've talked about the rule, that we can go in and fix these. Sarah asked, what if the title page differs than the cover? Do we still use the title page? Yes, the title page, although RDA says you can get the info from anywhere, the title page is still the preference above everything else. So I go by the title page, even in RDA. Any other questions, problems, things we want to talk about? Okay. Reminder to please go into the document up here. If you have any ideas for circulation for catalogers that you would like Rhonda to cover at the users conference, please click in there and add it to the list. Also, please remember to sign up for regional trainings. I will start to see all of you guys in person in the spring. And of course, we will be here. Our next meeting will be March 10th, and it will be, of course, at 11 a.m., same Zoom time, same Zoom channel. Anybody have any questions? Kate, do you want to add anything?
The only thing that I just thought about, we didn't put in the actual minutes, was the users conference. It is the week before that first, excuse me, training day.
Yeah.
It is just one day this year. And we encourage anybody that can come to come.
Okay, you know where to find us. We will be available via Cat Help or email any of us directly if you need to. Otherwise, we will see you coming up at regional trainings, user conferences, or next month at the meeting, okay? All right.
Thanks, everyone.
See you guys. Have a great day.
Bye.